My parents are furious I didn't consult them about buying my house, because they planned, as I found out later, that my sister, her husband, and their 3 kids would move in with me. So I said no and cut all ties with them. Well, let's go. My name is Averly Jade and I'm 30 years old. I work as an investment analyst and I'm pretty good at what I do. Some might say I'm too careful with money, but that's just who I am. Growing up as the younger of 2 sisters taught me early on that if I wanted something, I'd have to work for it myself. My sister Seraphine is 3 years older than me. She's always been the golden child in our family, the pretty one, the social butterfly, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister, but our parents' favoritism was pretty obvious from day one. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the expectations. They always expected Seraphine to succeed effortlessly while I was just there. Seraphine married Thane right after college. He works in construction management, and they quickly started having kids. Now they have 3, Aries, 8, Lucan, 5, and little Jory, 2. They're sweet kids, but Seraphine always complains about how hard it is to manage them in their rented apartment. As for me, I've been lucky in my own way. My best friend Jenna Ray's parents own several properties, and they've been renting me a nice 1-bedroom apartment at half the market rate for the past 5 years. They trust me, and I've never given them a reason not to. I've been saving money religiously since I started working, living below my means, cooking at home instead of eating out, taking public transport when possible. All those small things add up. My colleagues often tease me about being too frugal, but I had a plan. I've always dreamed of having my own place, specifically a small country house. Working remotely became more common at our firm after the pandemic, and I only need to come into the office for important meetings. A peaceful place away from the city seemed perfect. Last week, I finally opened my savings account and really looked at the numbers. After years of careful planning and saving, I had enough for a down payment on a modest country house. I spent hours browsing real estate websites looking at potential properties. Nothing too fancy, just a cozy place I could call my own. I was in the middle of browsing real estate listings when my phone rang. It was my mother, calling with her usual perfect timing. "Averly, honey, don't forget we're expecting you for dinner on Saturday," she said, her voice carrying that subtle tone of command disguised as a reminder. "Seraphine and Thane are coming with the kids, and please try to be on time for once." I arrived at my parents' suburban house at exactly 5:05 p.m. that Saturday. The driveway was already full. Seraphine's minivan took up most of the space, forcing me to park on the street. Before I even reached the front door, I could hear the chaos inside. Aries and Lucan were probably chasing each other around the house while little Jory added to the noise with his toddler squeals. "Averly's here," Seraphine announced as I walked in, barely looking up from where she was trying to convince Jory to eat his mashed potatoes. The kids barely acknowledged my presence, too caught up in their own world. Mom was in her element, fussing over everyone and everything. Dad was already settled in his favorite chair, newspaper in hand. "Everything's getting so expensive these days," he grumbled from behind the pages. "Have you seen the price of gas? Highway robbery, that's what it is." "Tell me about it," Thane chimed in, helping himself to another serving of Mom's lasagna. "And my boss, what a piece of work. Yesterday he comes in, right? Completely changes the project timeline without even consulting the team. Who does that?" Seraphine nodded sympathetically at her husband while wrestling with Jory's bib. "At least you get to leave the house. Try being stuck in a cramped apartment all day with these 3. I took advantage of the chaos to check my phone under the table. There was this perfect little cottage I'd been eyeing. 2 bedrooms, a spacious kitchen, and a gorgeous garden. The price was right in my range, too. I was so absorbed in the photos that I didn't notice Mom watching me until she spoke up. "Averly, what's so interesting on that phone? You barely touched your food." All eyes turned to me, and I felt my cheeks warm slightly. I could have made up something about work, but for some reason I decided to be honest. "Actually," I said, "I'm looking at houses. I'm thinking about buying one soon." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the kids seemed to sense something had changed. Buy a house, Mom repeated, as if she hadn't heard me correctly. Well, yes, I said, already regretting my candor. I'm just looking at options right now, nothing definite. What kind of house? Seraphine asked, her voice oddly sharp. Where? I haven't really decided yet, I said vaguely, trying to redirect the conversation. Hey Mom, this lasagna is amazing. Did you change your recipe? But I could feel it, the wheels turning in their heads, the unspoken thoughts almost visible in the air. My parents exchanged meaningful looks, and Seraphine kept shooting glances at Thane. The usual dinner chaos resumed eventually, but something had shifted. The rest of the evening felt off-kilter, like everyone was playing their usual roles but with their minds elsewhere. A week flew by, and I'd almost forgotten about the strange tension at the family dinner. Work kept me busy, and I spent my evenings researching mortgage rates and property taxes. I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting when my phone started buzzing with my mother's caller ID. I let it go to voicemail, but she called right back. 3 times. Finally, during my lunch break, I called her back, expecting some kind of emergency given her persistence. Averly, finally. Mom's voice was bursting with excitement. I found the perfect house for you. You won't believe how perfect it is. Marlene, you remember Marlene from church? She told me about this listing in her neighborhood. It's absolutely ideal. I put down my lunch and pressed my fingers to my temple, already feeling a headache coming on. Mom, I haven't even asked for help finding a house. But she was already in full swing, impossible to interrupt. It has 4 bedrooms, no 5. The master bedroom is huge, and there are these adorable children's rooms with built-in closets. Oh, and the backyard, there's already a playground installed. Can you believe it? And the location is just perfect. Walking distance to Brighton Academy Elementary and the public library. Mom, I finally managed to cut in, keeping my voice gentle but firm. I appreciate you thinking of me, but that's not what I'm looking for at all. There was a pause. What do you mean? I'm looking for something completely different. I want a small country house. Something cozy. Just for me. I don't need multiple children's rooms or a playground. Don't be ridiculous, she said sharply. You can't just think about yourself. You need to plan ahead. This house is perfect. It's even on sale. Marlene says the owners are motivated to sell quickly. I know what works for me, I said, now more firmly. I want a quiet place in the countryside where I can work from home. That's what I'm looking for. She made a sound of displeasure in her throat. Well, don't come crying to me when you realize I was right. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, feeling a mix of guilt and frustration, but I didn't have long to dwell on it because my phone buzzed with a message from Seraphine. Hey sis, check this out. What followed was a barrage of links to real estate listings. Every single one was a massive family home in the city. 4 to 6 bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, huge yards, all near schools and parks. I quickly typed back. Thanks, but I'm actually looking for something smaller in the countryside. Her response was immediate. But these are such good deals, look at this one, it even has an in-law suite. More links kept coming. During afternoon meetings my phone kept buzzing with messages from Seraphine, each one another house listing, each bigger and more family-oriented than the last. I stopped checking after the 20th listing. Instead I called Amara Lee, a realtor I'd found through positive online reviews. She had a reputation for really listening to clients, which was exactly what I needed. I want something small and cozy, I explained. A country house but not too far from the city. Good internet is a must since I work from home. Maybe a small garden where I can grow herbs and vegetables. When I gave her my budget, her eyes lit up. I think I might have exactly what you're looking for. Just came on the market yesterday. Want to take a look this weekend? The house was about 40 minutes from the city, set back from a quiet country road. As soon as Amara's car turned into the gravel driveway, I felt something click inside me. The house was perfect, a charming 2-bedroom cottage with white siding and deep emerald shutters. A wraparound porch held 2 rocking chairs, and mature maple trees shaded the front yard. Inside, sunlight streamed through large windows into an open-plan living area. The kitchen was small but updated with butcher block countertops and new appliances. A wood-burning fireplace dominated one wall of the living room. Upstairs, there were 2 modest-sized bedrooms and a full bathroom with a clawfoot tub. But it was the sunroom at the back of the house that sealed the deal. Windows on 3 sides looked out over a well-tended garden with raised beds and a small greenhouse. "The owner is motivated to sell quickly," Amara mentioned as we stood in the sunroom. "She's willing to offer a 5% discount for a fast closing." I didn't hesitate. I want it. The next week was a whirlwind of paperwork, mortgage applications, and negotiations. I put down a larger down payment than required to keep monthly payments comfortable. Every night, I fell asleep looking at photos of my future home, imagining where I'd put my furniture, planning what I'd plant in the garden. When everything was signed and official, I felt like I was floating. Despite everything that happened at the last dinner, I still wanted to share the news with my family. The following Saturday, I drove to my parents' house for dinner, practically buzzing with excitement. Seraphine and Thane were already there with the kids as usual. We settled in for dinner, and Mom served her traditional pot roast. The usual complaints and conversations floated around the table: Thane's workplace drama, Seraphine's struggles with the kids' schedules, Dad's commentary on the economy. Then Mom turned to me with a smile that made my stomach clench. "Oh, Averly, I'm so glad you're here. I was just talking to Bernadine next door. She's selling her house. She's willing to give us, you, a good price. You should really consider it." "Actually," I interrupted, unable to contain myself any longer, "I've already bought a house." The clatter of cutlery against plates came to an abrupt halt. Aries' cartwheel in the background stopped mid-tumble. The silence was absolute. I took a deep breath and began describing my new home, my voice filled with enthusiasm despite the tension around the table. "It's this beautiful cottage about 40 minutes outside the city. 2 bedrooms, the most amazing sunroom, and there's even a small greenhouse in the backyard. The previous owner had these gorgeous raised garden beds." "Are you out of your mind?" Dad's fist came down on the table, making dishes jump. I'd never seen him this angry before. Jory started crying at the sudden noise. What?" I stammered, completely thrown. "How dare you?" Mom's face had turned a dangerous shade of red. "How dare you buy a house without consulting us first? After everything we showed you, all those perfect family homes." I felt like I'd stepped into a bizarre alternate universe. "Why would I need to consult you about buying my own house with my own money?" "Because we had it all planned out." Mom was practically screaming now. Bernadine's house would have been perfect. Right here in the neighborhood. Plenty of room for everyone. "Room for everyone," I repeated slowly, confusion turning to dread. "It's just going to be me living there." The table fell silent again. Mom and Dad exchanged looks. Seraphine stared calmly. Thane stared at his plate. "Actually, Averly," Mom said in a tone that made my blood run cold, "the plan was for Seraphine, Thane, and the kids to live there with you." I stared at her, waiting for the joke. It didn't come. "I'm sorry, what?" I managed to choke out. Seraphine nodded as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "We're so cramped in that apartment, Averly. It's really hard on the kids. Your house would have given us all the space we need." She smiled like she was asking to borrow a jacket. "And since we wouldn't have to pay rent or utilities, we could finally start saving some money." I looked around the table from face to face, waiting for someone to crack a smile, to say gotcha, to laugh and admit it was all a joke. But all I saw were dead serious expressions. Dad's stiff disapproval, Mom's righteous anger, Seraphine's entitled expectation, Thane's awkward avoidance. I struggled to form words. "You all just assumed I would buy a house for Seraphine's family to live in." "Well, of course." Mom threw up her hands. "That's what family does. We help each other." "Help each other," I repeated incredulously. "This isn't helping." This is expecting me to provide housing for 5 people without even asking me. You're being selfish, Seraphine said, her calm facade cracking. You know how hard it is for us in that tiny apartment. Aries and Lucan have to share a room, and Jory's crib is in our bedroom. It's not fair to the children. I felt like I was drowning. The room seemed to spin as the full impact of their expectations hit me. They had all sat there for weeks, planning out my future, deciding how I should spend my money, without ever considering what I wanted or thinking they should ask me. You need to cancel this ridiculous purchase immediately, Mom demanded, voice sharp with authority. Call your realtor first thing Monday morning. Bernadine's house is still available, and it's perfect. Right here in the neighborhood. Close to all the good schools and kindergartens. No. I stood up from the table, my chair scraping against the floor. The word came out stronger than I expected, fueled by decades of pent-up frustration. The dining room erupted into chaos. Mom jumped up from her chair, waving her arms. Dad's voice boomed over everyone else's. The kids started crying, picking up on the tension. But we'll be so cramped. Seraphine wailed, as if she hadn't heard me at all. Do you know how hard it'll be to get the kids to school from all the way out there? Aries has ballet on Tuesdays. Lucan has soccer on Thursdays. I spun to face her, something inside me finally snapping. You're not going to be cramped anywhere because you're not living in my house. None of you are. Ever. Is that clear enough for you? The room fell silent. They all stared at me like I'd grown horns. The entitled shock on their faces was almost comical. Averly! Mom gasped, clutching her pearls. How can you be so cruel to your own sister? I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, their voices rising behind me. I couldn't listen to another word. I got in my car and drove home in a daze, their screams still ringing in my ears. Sitting alone in my apartment that night, memories flooded back. Christmas 1999. Seraphine got the expensive Aurora Belle doll she wanted, while I received the knockoff version from the bargain store. They look exactly the same, Mom had said. But they didn't. Our 16th birthdays. Seraphine got a brand new Marston Beetle with a big red bow. I got Dad's old sedan with 150,000 miles and a dying engine. High school graduation. Seraphine's was a fully catered backyard event with a DJ. Mine was a quiet dinner because we had too many expenses. College years. Seraphine attended her dream school with full parental funding, tuition and housing included. I worked myself raw applying for scholarships, knowing it was my only chance at college. And now here we were. After years of them giving her everything while I worked for scraps, they expected to take the one thing I built completely on my own. I was packing my kitchen when pounding shook my apartment door. The mug I was wrapping slipped from my hands but landed safely in packing paper. Averly, open this door right now. My father's voice boomed. We know you're in there. More pounding followed. Go away, shouted back. I'm not discussing this anymore. Don't you dare talk to us like that. Dad yelled, pounding hard enough to rattle the door. We raised you better. My hands were trembling as I picked up my phone. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police. I mean it. I pressed a loud, deliberate 9 so they could hear. You ungrateful little, Dad began, but Mom cut him off. We're leaving, she snapped, voice suddenly cold. But this isn't over. You're making a terrible mistake. Their footsteps retreated. I slid down the wall, heart pounding. It was far from over. An hour later, a message from Seraphine came through. A photo of Aries and Lucan cramped together on their bunk bed. Look how little space they have. Aries can't even have a desk for homework. I didn't respond. Another photo came of Jory's crib jammed into a corner. He wakes up whenever we come to bed. This isn't fair to him. When I continued to ignore her, the messages turned hostile. They came at all hours. You always were Dad's least favorite. Mom cries herself to sleep because of you. I hope you're happy in that big house alone while your niece and nephews suffer. I blocked her number, then her Facebook, then her Instagram. She kept finding new ways to reach me, Thane's phone, fake emails, new accounts. Then the calls started from everyone else. Aunt Miranda. Surely you can find it in your heart to help family. Uncle Bryce. Kid, family comes first. Mom's church friend Susan. Your mother is devastated. How could you? Even Mrs. Pearson, my high school teacher. I'm so disappointed in you. They all had the same message. I should give up my home, my dreams, my independence, for Seraphine's convenience. After 2 weeks of harassment, I'd had enough. I changed my number and only gave it to trusted people. Moving day was peaceful. I hired a moving company from a different county so none of them could trace the address. By sunset, I stood in my new living room surrounded by boxes and possibility. That first night, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, listening to crickets under the stars. No sirens, no traffic, no family drama. Just peace. Something inside me finally relaxed. Tension I hadn't realized I'd been carrying for years. Life flourished. I transformed the second bedroom into a home office facing the bird feeder. The raised beds overflowed with herbs and vegetables. The greenhouse became my weekend sanctuary. My productivity soared, and my boss rewarded me with more responsibility and a raise. I took online courses, expanded my expertise, built a life that felt mine. I made new friends. Other remote professionals, a local gardening group, neighbors who respected boundaries. They knew me as I was, not who my family decided I should be. The funny thing, I'm actually living the values my parents claimed they wanted for us. Success, independence, stability. They just never expected me to be the one who achieved it. And certainly not in a way that liberated me from them. Sometimes the best family you can have is yourself, until you choose to add to it on your own terms, in your own time, in your own way. And that's more than enough for me.